Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sneaker Updates. This will be Sneaker Updates number 6. So, if you happen to be new here, we have decided to make this a weekly series since you guys like it so much. If you're not familiar with the series, essentially what we talk about here is just a variety of different shoes, small updates that we've gotten within the week. Some of those shoes may possibly include some Nike and Off-White sneakers, some Yeezys, Jordans, and much more. So with that short little intro out of the way, why don't we jump into the first update?
Outfit, I hope to see a lot of other people wearing exactly this, and I assume I will because it's a really good look.
Alright, so we are going to be starting off with some Nike and Off-White like we always do since you guys seem to like that so much. The first shoes we'll be talking about are the Off-White Zoom Flies in black and also tulip pink. So initially we saw that the potential release date for the Off-White Zoom Flies would be October 15th. However, this may have changed to the 13th instead of the 15th. This being because of the SNS countdown page. So according to the SNS countdown page, these would be releasing on the 13th. Now, I do understand that the SNS countdown page doesn't always directly correlate with the Nike release date, but for the most part, it usually does. For instance, let's take the Blazers that we just saw, the Grim Reapers, and the All Hallows Eve from the Spooky Pack we just saw released. So before the Nike product page came up on US and also before Europe, we saw End Clothing and also SNS tweet out that the release date for these would be October 3rd. And what do you know, in EU, in Canada, and US, they did end up releasing on October 3rd. So this leads me to think that the drop will most likely be on the 13th rather than the 15th. Of course, it's definitely possible that we'll see the 15th, but I'm expecting the 13th, at least as of now, until we get more information. I think the most important thing that you guys might be asking me is, will this be a shock drop or will this be a scheduled release? I'm leaning towards that this is going to be a scheduled release simply because that these aren't extremely limited shoes in comparison to, say, the Serena Williams Off-White Blazers and 97s. Those are extremely limited in comparison to these other Off-White and Nike sneakers. Of course, they are still limited, but there is enough stock to do a draw or a Leo drop. Now, unfortunately, I am confident that this will most likely be a draw, not a Leo drop, and that's definitely a bad thing. It's usually not too great for the manual community. So, unfortunately, since we just saw that the Blazers did release through a draw, I do think these will release through a draw. Not only that, but going back to last summer, we did see that the last two Off-White and Nike Zoom Flies were released through a draw. So unfortunately, I do think that is what we're going to be seeing. The Europe product page should be up in a couple of days. For US, I would expect the same thing as what we just saw with the Blazers, where, like I said, it should come up the day before the drop. In addition to that, we should also see sneakers passes come up the day before the drop. Now, I was initially expecting for the Blazers that they would shock drop the sneakers passes, but they actually did give us the 15-minute warning. And for everyone who's saying that bots eat these up, I'm pretty confident that there are no bots that do the sneakers passes. So this is definitely possible to cop manually. It's just really hard because you need exceptional internet because there's only so few pairs. Regarding a scratch drop, like a behind the design page, I'm definitely not expecting anything like that for these, just because I thought we would get one for the Blazers because they were themed, but considering these shoes aren't themed either, unless they were to do something regarding breast cancer awareness, I can't see them doing a behind the design scratch drop for these. But of course, anything's possible. I just wouldn't stress too much over it if I were you. Anyway, from the Off-White and Nike Zoom Flies, let's move on to the next Off-White and Nike shoe, and that is going to be the Off-White Converse. If you don't know, Converse is owned by Nike. I went in depth into the history on this in my How to Cop guide, but anyway, the update that I did want to give you guys was that I told you there were going to be a lot more raffles from the ones I already posted, and what do you know, there's a ton, especially online raffles. I did pin my tweet. I actually retweeted my tweet, and with that retweet, I did add a bunch of other links, so it's super easy for you guys. All you gotta do is go to my Twitter, KeithAdam10, click on all those links, sign up, whatever you need to do. Now, in addition to the raffles, I also should have a site list on my Twitter very shortly, and also, like I mentioned before, the How to Cop guide is out there for how Converse is going to be releasing these, because like I've been mentioning, these aren't going to be releasing on Nike sneakers. This will be just like the last Converse and Off-White drop, where they dropped it on converse.com, which is still on Nike, but it's a Converse section. Anyway, feel free to check out the How to Cop guide for that. And the final thing I wanted to mention about these shoes is a lot of you guys are panicking because you see pre-sale is really, really low. Now keep in mind that retail for these shoes is only $130. Now, I understand with some overseas retailers, you might see $180, maybe even $200, but still, I'm confident that you can profit off of these. Although profit isn't going to be exceptional compared to past Off-White and Nike releases, you could definitely still make some money off of these, so I would recommend going for them no matter what size you manage to pick up. A conservative estimate would be that these might end up going to the mid 300s or so, considering pre-sale is already down in the low 400-ish area. But even if they do hit 300 or so, I'm just saying they're still going to be profitable with that low retail price, so don't worry. And regarding the Serena Williams Blazers and 97s, guys, unfortunately, there's no news on them. All I can say is that you still got to look out for them because anything could happen. And I hate having to tell you guys this, but honestly, there is no information right now on them. I've contacted multiple Nike reps, and for the information that I have gathered from the Nike reps, they've contradicted themselves. So they don't even know what's going on. But if any information does come up, of course, I'm going to keep you guys updated. So feel free to turn on post notifications and subscribe if you happen to be new. Now, with Nike and Off-White out of the way, why don't we move on to some Yeezys? To kick it off, let's start talking about the Yeezy 350 V2 Zebra. So initially, we saw that the Zebras and Frozen Yellows would both restock this December. Now, however, Yeezy Mafia confirmed that these will be releasing November 9th. Only the Zebras, not the Yebras, or Frozen Yellows, you could say. Now, regarding stock for these, I think most of us knew that these weren't going to be as stocked as the Cream Yeezys. Cream Yeezys were just something completely different, but the one thing I did want to mention about those is, since the Cream Yeezys had that much stock, they're still going over retail on StockX, not to the point that they're profitable. After fees, you're going to lose money, but my point is that considering these aren't going to have the same amount of stock, and these are probably going to be more limited, even though there's already a lot of stock of these Zebras out there, I still think that these are going to be profitable. Perhaps you'll be able to make the same amount or just a little more profit than you would have made with the Butter Yeezys. So maybe you end up making $30 to $40 on each pair. So nothing ridiculous, but I do suggest going for these because when it comes to Yeezys, it's very easy to get multiple pairs. You guys know with the multiple people jig. So if you were to hypothetically get like 6 or 8 pairs, even in the common sizes, that's a pretty penny if you ask me. Of course though, if you want personal pairs, it's going to be easy to cop those as well. Now moving on to the next update, just a small one. We got an on-foot look at the Yeezy 700s. In my last update video, we did mention that these will be releasing on October 27th for $300. Now, I mostly just wanted to hear your opinion right now. Do you guys think this colorway is better than the OG colorway for the 700s, or do you prefer the OG? Me personally, I like the original colorway better just because I like the loud shoes, the shoes that stand out. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this colorway. I know some of you guys are obsessed with it, but feel free to let me know down in the comments. I kind of want to know what you have to say. Now, with the Yeezys out of the way, why don't we move on to some Jordans? And like in the last video where we had barely any Jordan news, we got a lot of Jordan news this time, so I'm very excited to get into this. So first of all, we got official images for the Jordan 1 not for resale, and apparently these will be releasing in December of 2018. The one thing I wanted to mention about these is on the insole, I do believe it says no L's. I'm pretty sure there's another colorway that actually says general release on it. The thing is, these are supposedly supposed to be pretty limited, like less pairs than the Homage to Home, so if you ask me, it's kind of ironic. Anyway, moving on, we have some official images for the Fire Red Jordan 4. These will be releasing on November 11th for $190. I think the nickname for these is actually called Singles Day, and the unique thing about these shoes is that if you rub off the second layer of the shoe, it actually reveals a pretty unique design. I personally would leave it the way it is, but of course you guys could do whatever you want. Now, moving to my favorite shoe that we're going to be talking about in today's video, we got the Bred 4s, guys. A lot of you guys were really excited that we might actually get these in 2019, and what do you know, the time has come. We have an official release date for these. As of now, these are supposed to release on May 11th, 2019 for $200, and guess what, guys? They got that Nike Air on the back, so I'm definitely excited about these shoes. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, though. Moving on to the next update, we got the Jordan 11 Platinum Tint. Now, this shoe is confirmed to be releasing on October 27th for $220. I know a lot of you guys were asking me, hey, Keith, since it's a Jordan 11, do you think these are going to be profitable? Definitely not. Don't sleep on the shoe, though, for personal wear. Jordan 11s do tend to have a lot of demand. I'm expecting resale to be just like the Win like 82s and 96s, so essentially not really profitable with the retail of $220. So just go for personal pairs, and I do believe there's also grade school pairs. Now moving on, we got the Jordan 5 Satins, and unfortunately for those of you who were a fan of these are now being moved to to November 3rd. But the retail will be staying at $190. And the last thing regarding Jordans is that the purple Travis Scott 4s are potentially going to release in November. Of course, this is a shoe I'm very excited about. I personally am more of a fan of the blue pair, but I definitely would not mind getting the purple pair anyway. Of course, though, I'm going to keep you guys updated on this, and I will be making a how to cop guide as well. And finally, just to jump into some miscellaneous shoes to kick it off, we got some official images for the John Elliott Air Force Ones. And finally, we have 3 new Element 87s releasing October 11th for $160 each. And I know you guys are going to ask me if they're going to be profitable. Frankly, I do think they are going to be profitable. Based off of the last 87s that released that were not part of a collaboration, honestly, I would try to stick to sizes 8.5 and above, and I would also stay away from the orange colorway. The other 2 colorways, you might be able to make just a couple of bucks on. It's nothing significant, so if you want to avoid it, feel free to as well. But for personal pairs, don't sleep on any of them. They are going to sell out. With that, though, I will conclude today's video. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two, and subscribe and turn on post notifications if you happen to be new. With that, though, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later.
Yeah. Now I can't run and I can't walk. You hit me so hard I don't want to talk. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot off my foot. Yeah.
Why are you always in my way, knocking me over every single day? Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot off my foot. Yeah.
I should have run the other way. Now there's just one thing to say. Get your foot off